The envelope was thick, too thick. It sat on investigative journalist Daniel Cole's desk with no return address, no markings, just his name in bold black ink. He hadn't ordered anything. No sources had warned him about an incoming tip, yet here it was. He hesitated, then sliced it open. Inside, a single manila folder, kind used for classified documents, stamped on the cover, Project Silk Road Op Secreti, UTORIZD personnel only. Daniel frowned. Silk Road, wastes, that the name of a dismantled dark web marketplace. He flipped open the folder. The first page was a funding report from an unknown government agency. It detailed $20 million allocated to Sesame Street. But at addition, he kept flipping. 7. $3 million for Moroccan pottery restoration. 14. $6 million for Indonesian skatepark research. 30. $9 million for an undisclosed cultural exchange program in Kazakhstan. It was absurd. Who funds skatepark research with taxpayer money? But then came the final page, a handwritten note, 5 words written in red ink. Follow the money, trust no one. His skin prickled. Daniel had received leaks before, expose on corporate fraud, political scandals, rigged elections. But this felt different. He grabbed his phone and snapped a picture of the note. He barely had time to save it before Bsti. His screen went black, then rebooted, all files erased. A chill ran down his spine. Someone had just remotely wiped his phone. Someone knew, and they were already watching. Daniel jerked his hand away from the phone. His heart pounded. This wasn't some random glitch. Samiwan Somo. Her had just reached into his device and erased proof of the message. He reached for his laptop. No internet. They cut my connection. Cold realization settled in. This wasn't a warning. It was a leash. Someone had let him see just enough and yanked him back. But it was too late. They'd made a mistake. Because Daniel Cole wasn't just a journalist, he was stubborn. He grabbed the manila folder and thumbed back to the first page. Follow the money, fine. Daniel pulled up his old, offline laptop precaution he used for high-risk investigations. No Wi-Fi, no spyware, just files and encrypted notes. He started with the biggest anomaly $39 million cultural exchange program in Kazakhstan. A few keystrokes, and he found something strange. The program didn't exist, at least not on paper. There were no press releases, no partner organizations, no student visas issued, nothing. Yet, when Daniel dug into banking transactions, he found a massive transfer of funds had been rerouted through a Swiss hedge fund, then a Singaporean shell company, then vanished. Classic laundering scheme. He exhaled sharply. The money wasn't going to Kazakhstan. It was being cleaned, sent through a web of international accounts to erase its origin. But where did it go? He searched for patterns, cross-referencing the organizations in the folder with real-world events. Then, in a 2019 document, something jumped out. One of the companies linked to the Moroccan Pottery Fund had donated heavily to a private security firm in Afghanistan. Daniel's stomach clenched. This wasn't about pottery or skate parks or children's TV. The money was being funneled into black ops. A dead man's name. Daniel needed a second opinion. Someone who knew the system, but wasn't in it anymore. He grabbed an old burner phone from his desk drawer and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. The call rang once. Twice, then a voice, gruff and low. "I told you never to call this number. Good to hear from you too, Ed," Daniel said. There was a pause, then a slow exhale. "What did you find?" Daniel read the key names from the folder: government accounts, shell corporations, the missing $39 million. Silence, then Ed spoke. "Forget this, kid. Drop it now." Daniel frowned. "Why?" "Because the last guy who asked about that money was found in a ditch in Geneva, with his tongue cut out. Daniel gripped the phone tighter. His fingers went cold. Who was he? He asked. Another pause. Then Ed said a name. It was the same name on the Swiss bank transaction. Daniel stared at the folder, his breath shallow. The man who had tried to follow the money trail before him was already dead, and now Daniel was next. The weight of Ed's words settled like a brick in Daniel's chest. The last guy who followed this money was found in a ditch. Tongue cut out. That wasn't just a warning, it was a death sentence for anyone who got too close. But there was something Ed hadn't said, who killed him, and more important, Aunt Luo gave the order. Daniel knew there was only one way forward. If someone was cleaning up loose ends, he needed to find a witness, someone connected to these financial transactions who was still alive, and he had one name, a man who shouldn't exist buried in the banking records from the Swiss hedge fund. Daniel had found a single contractor listed under security operations. No company, no employer, just a name. Victor Rains, a former military consultant. Rains had worked on overseas operations before vanishing 3 years ago. No employment records, no tax filings, no digital footprint, yet somehow his name was attached to a $2 million transfer routed through the same shell company funding the cultural exchange program in Kazakhstan. Daniel's gut told him one thing: if Rains was still breathing, he knew something. But first, Daniel had to find him. The chase begins. Daniel pulled out his old used data scraper, an illegal but useful tool head acquired from a hacker contact. With few keystrokes, he ran deep, web queries on military databases, government blacklists, and underground forums. No trace of Victor Rains. Dead end. Then, just as Daniel was about to close his laptop, a single result appeared. A border crossing record. 3 days ago, someone using the alias Rains had crossed from Mexico into Texas. Daniel's pulse quickened. He's alive, and better yet, was close. A trap in the dark. Daniel booked a last-minute flight to El Paso. He knew he had Osme Bless before someone else followed the same trail. By nightfall, he was in a rundown motel, staring at an address scraped from an old military pension record. A small house, middle of nowhere, Victor Rains' last known residence. Daniel parked 2 blocks away. The neighborhood was dark, silent, too silent. His instincts screamed at him thighs was too easy. He approached the house, cautiously, sticking to the shadows. The front door was slightly open, swinging lazily in the desert wind. Not a good sign. He stepped inside. The place had been cleared out. No furniture, no clothes. Nothing but dust and stale air. Then noticed something on the floor, a single sheet of paper fluttering near the doorway. Daniel bent down, his breath catching as he read the words scrawled in black ink. "You're too late." A slow, creeping dread filled his chest. Someone had gotten here first. Then a noise outside. Daniel turned sharply. Through the broken blinds he saw them, 2 black SUVs, no plates, doors opening, men in tactical gear stepping out. Guns in hand. Daniel's blood ran cold. They weren't here for Victor Rains. They were here for him. The kill team moves in Daniel's pulse pounded in his ears. The black SUVs idled outside, engines humming like predators waiting to pounce. Through the blinds he counted 4 men, tactical gear, silencers on their weapons. Professional, these weren't cops or random thugs. This was a kill team, and they had one target, him. A cold realization sank in. They didn't come to question him. They came to erase him. Nowhere to run. Daniel took slow, controlled breaths. Think, the front door, death trap, the windows reinforced, too small, the back exit, maybe. Footsteps crunched outside. A laser dot flickered against the wall. They were sweeping the house. Daniel moved. He dropped to the floor, crawling toward the back door, but then crack. A gunshot tore through the room, shattering a lamp inches from his head. They weren't waiting. They were already inside. A desperate gamble. Daniel whipped his head around. His only cover was a half-rotted kitchen counter. Not enough. Then he saw it. A gas stove, still connected. An idea snapped into place. A crazy one. But crazy was all he had left. He lunged toward the stove, gripping the rusty gas valve. Twist. A sharp hiss filled the air. Gas flooded the room. The footsteps behind him hesitated. Good. They were smart enough to recognize the danger, but Daniel, he had nothing left to lose. He grabbed a butane lighter from the counter, then, with a deep breath, he flicked it on. Whoos. The room exploded in fire. The great vanishing act. Daniel hit the floor as flames burst outward, igniting the kitchen in a roaring fireball. A wall of heat separated him from the hit squad. Screams, confusion. Daniel didn't wait. He bolted through the back door, shoulder, checking it open as he sprinted into the desert night. Behind him, the house crackled with fire. The hitmen were trapped for now, but they wouldn't be for long. He needed to disappear. He reached the main road, breath ragged, lungs burning, no car, no ride, then headlights, a lone truck. Approaching fast. Desperate, Daniel stepped onto the road, waving his arms. The truck screeched to a stop. Behind the wheel, an older man in a military jacket squinted at him. Daniel didn't hesitate. Drive. Now, something in his voice must have worked, because the man slammed the gas. As they sped away, Daniel risked one last look, the burning house, the SUVs, the men in black spilling out, searching. But Daniel Cole was gone. The stranger with the scar. The truck rumbled down the highway, headlights carving through the empty desert. Daniel sat in the passenger seat, breathing hard, heart racing. The driver, an older man with a deep scar across his jaw, kept his eyes on the road, calm, focused, too calm. Daniel finally spoke. Who the hell are you? The man gave a slow, measured exhale. Someone who doesn't like loose ends. Daniel's stomach clenched. Something was wrong. The man's hands were steady on the wheel. No nerves, no confusion. He hadn't even asked why Daniel was running for his life, and then it clicked. This wasn't a random rescue. This man was waiting for him. Truth at gunpoint. Daniel's hands edged toward the door handle. Slowly, the driver sighed as if he already knew. Don't bother. A pistol appeared in his right hand, casual, like an afterthought. The gun pointed straight at Daniel's ribs. I need you alive, kid. But not comfortable. Daniel's mouth went dry. You work for them. The man's scarred face barely moved. No confirmation, no denial. I work for whoever pays the SUVs, the kill team, the race files, the money trail. This was never about stopping some black ops operation. It was about who controlled the secret. Daniel wasn't a journalist anymore. He was a bargaining chip. The final revelation. The truck slowed as they approached a rest stop. A single car was parked under the flickering light. Daniel's blood turned to ice, waiting beside the car, smoking a cigarette. Ed, his old contact, his only friend inside the system. Daniel's pulse pounded in his skull. No, 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 the driver smirked. Ah, you get it now. Ed had set him up from the beginning. The offer that changes everything. The truck lurched to a stop. Daniel stared at Ed, his mind racing. Why? Why go through all this? Ed took one last drag of his cigarette, then flicked it into the dust. You're smart, Cole. But you're not smart enough. He gestured to the truck driver. This is Victor Rains. Daniel's breath caught. The man he had been chasing, his only lead, was the one delivering him. Everything had been orchestrated. You wanted the truth, Ed said. Here it is, that money. Silk Road, black budgets, all of it. It's not about war. It's about power. Whoever controls the pipeline controls everything. Governments, corporations, media. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. And you sold me out to them. Ed's expression never changed. No, kid. I'm offering you a choice. He pulled out another file. Thicker, darker. You disappear now. New name, new life. You never write another word. Or he tossed the file onto the truck seat. You work for us. Silence. The desert wind howled through the rest stop. Daniel stared at the file, at the gun still pointed at him, at Ed, at Victor Rains. Everything he thought he knew burned to the ground. And now he had to decide, walk away, or become the very thing he was trying to expose.